So this is the final section that we're going to explore in this particular training. So this is exploration of shape and pattern. So this is activities that are going to refine the stereognostic and the kinesthetic sense. So in this group, we have, first of all, activities to refine the stereognostic sense. So we have the geometric solids and then the stereognostic bags we can use. So if we want to refine the kinesthetic sense, we're going to have our geometric cabinet. So we look at the presentation tray and the 3-period lesson for the names of the shapes. The geometric cabinet with its drawers and shapes, and then you would combine the shapes in the geometric cabinet with the sets of cards. Then for activities for exploration of patterns, we're going to look at our sets of constructive triangles. I'm going to show you the triangular box. Then you can also bring in activities of tessellation, so exploring which shapes fit together, and then you can also bring in your fraction activities. And the final part of this section would be your introduction to algebra. So this would be your binomial cube and using the trinomial cube. So I'm going to be doing a presentation of the binomial cube for you and how you can lay this out as well. So this is your introduction for this particular section. So this is the geometric solids. Mine are stored in a box on the shelf. Some people have them in a basket. So it contains the cone, cylinder, triangular based pyramid, sphere, ellipsoid, ovoid, cube, cuboid, triangular prism, square-based pyramid, and then we also have the base shapes for the solids and these wooden bases that are circular shapes fit on our rounded shapes. So this is an individual presentation. You need your solids, you need a floor mat. So you would invite the child to put the floor mat out, take them to the shelf, label these. So we are going to look at the geometric solids, invite the child to carry them. It is a really big heavy basket or box. Place it onto the floor mat. I'm just doing a table mat so it's easier for me to sit and work. So the aim of this is to provide experiences of solid shape. So we're going to be feeling these, our stereognostic sense. And it's to stimulate an interest as well in shapes in the world around them. So next time they go out into the garden to play football, they might say, oh, the football is a sphere, or my egg is an ovoid. Oh, look, this roll of paper is a cylinder. So we learn the names of the shapes, we take them into the environment, we can discuss them with children. If you can't afford to buy the geometric solids, you could use items from the environment to teach these shapes. So that's an option for you as well, to do this homemade. So the vocabulary is obviously all of the different names of these shapes. The objective is to have an experience of these solid shapes, to stimulate interest and to understand the relationship between shapes as well, such as how we're going to be able to build things together. So looking at faces that are the same shape too. So the early stage of this is feeling and exploring the solids, and then we move on to the more advanced activities later on as well. So presentation then, the child's placed their floor mat out, you've walked to the shelf together, you've labelled the activity, and now we can invite our child to choose a shape. So what would you like to choose? You choose one and we'll explore what it will do. Oh, I'm going to choose this one, says the child. And the child feels it in the hand. How does it feel? Oh, it feels roundy. Are there any pointy bits? No. I wonder what this would do. Oh, this one rolls. I can roll it in a straight line. It rolls really quickly if I push it harder. So really lovely exploration. And then you could take one. Oh, my one is pointed. I can see triangles. Oh, mine doesn't roll. It just stops flat. So this is the first activity then, to take these lovely solids and to present them and to look then at their properties, because in the second presentation, we're going to group them. So this time we're going to have our shapes out on the mat and we're going to talk about rolling. I'm going to choose this one. This rolls. So we're going to put it here. This shape my triangular base pyramid. This one doesn't roll, so I'm going to place it over here. Can you choose one that you think will roll? So we're now going to be predicting, aren't we? So we're looking at early science skills here, predicting what's going to happen and make a choice. So I'm going to choose this one. Does it roll? Yes, it does roll. So I'm going to put it with the rolling solids. And we can continue to choose. Do you think you can find one that's not going to roll? I'm going to choose this one. Oh, this one is not rolling. I'm going to place it over there. So that's our first two activities. We've looked and explored them, and then we've also learned to group them. And in this case, we've grouped them between our rolling and our non-rolling. Thank you for listening. So the third activity with our geometric solids now is going to be matching them to their base shapes. Now, the set that I purchased only has one wooden base shape of each shape. In other sets, you might get more. So quite often you would have 3 of some of them so that you can match all of the solids. But I only have the equilateral triangle, the circle, the square, the rectangle, and the isosceles triangle. Okay, so with these then we would lay out our base shapes now on our floor mat, and we're going to introduce our child to matching the solids to the base shape. So for example, I'm going to look at this circle and I'm going to see if I can find one of the solids whose base, whose bottom is this shape, circular. Let me see. This one is. Let me try this one. Oh no, it doesn't have a base shape. This doesn't have any flat surfaces. This one has to sit in his stand here. And then we're going to let the child go on and continue to explore. So for example, they're going to pick up our rectangular prism and perhaps match it to the square base shape. And then if we say, can you see anywhere else it could go? We then may match it to our rectangular base shape too. So a huge amount of exploration with our solids, matching them to the various base shapes, which we can then also extend onto building structures like this. So lots and lots of lovely exploration matching the solids to the bases. And then finally, because this has all been about exploration and discovery and learning about their properties, in presentation 4, we would teach the names of the solids. So with this, I'm just going to review with you a 3-period lesson. So now session 4, presentation 4, is teaching the names of the solids. So we're going to have been speaking about these as we work with the child. We would have mentioned the names before when we're working and we're discovering and exploring the solids. But actually now, to make sure we have the names of all of these, we're going to use a 3-period lesson. And this is going to be a gradual process depending on the individual child you're working with. I like to start with 2 that have the biggest difference. So our sphere, which is completely curved sides, and our cube, which is all flat square faces. So a lovely big difference between these. And we're going to do a 3-period lesson. So with a 3-period lesson, the only thing that we should be able to see is the item we're naming that's on our map. So here we start. So today we're going to learn the names of the sphere and the cube. This is a sphere. Can you say sphere? Sphere. This is a cube. Cube. We do this a couple of times. Then we place them out and we say, show me the sphere. And we hope that the child points and says, sphere. Show me the cube. Cube. Show me the sphere. Sphere. Show me the cube. Cube. If the child gets this right, then we go to the 3rd stage when we hope they've retained that information and we say, what is this? And hopefully they say sphere. What is this? and the child says cube. If they don't know the names of them, then another day you can go back and revisit, starting the 3-period lesson again, or starting at stage 2, working on to stage 3. So that's your 3-period lesson, which you'll keep using until the child has the names of all of the geometric solids. This is a presentation of the stereognostic bags. These are found in the sensorial area of your classroom. This is a really simple activity and one that's quite easy to make at home. So you need 2 matching little drawstring bags and pairs of objects to go in your bags. So you take your objects and put one of each pair into each bag. And then you show the child how you put your hand in and feel. There's no looking. Feel for one item, feel for the matching item, show how you're feeling around, take the items out, and we've found a pair. So we're going to pair them and we pop them in the middle of our mat, and then we select another item. So the control of error in this activity is visual. The child can see that the items match once they've removed them from the bag. So we could present one more if we wanted to. Take them out, show that they match, pop them together in the middle of the mat, and invite our child to take a turn. Our child can then continue until they've matched all of the items in the bag. If our child pulls out a pair that don't match, we don't need to say anything. They should be able to see that they're not a pair. This is a control of error. So the child can then pop them back into the bag and try again. You need to be silent. Even a all is a criticism of the child, and they don't need it. This is their work and they can correct their errors. So we continue until all of the items have been matched and our child has finished. And then we can say to our child, wow, that's so clever that you could feel the objects that are similar and the ones that are different. I love that you've managed to pair them all. Would you like to do it again, or would you like to pack it away? The child may well choose to work again, especially if you have done some of the objects at the start, so they've not done the whole work themselves, or if they have made 1 or 2 errors and they have that intrinsic motivation, they have that need within themselves to know that they have completed the work correctly. And that's what we're looking for in a child, that intrinsic motivation. I want to work to get it right, and it is my work and I own my errors. So if our child has finished, they can then take their objects, pop them back into the bag. These little bags will go into a basket, and then the child will take the basket and put it back to its place on the shelf. So this is a very special activity. This has been made for the children at Peak Heights School in Nigeria, who we're supporting at the moment. And I'm just going to show you these beautiful bags, and the work mats have been made by my very talented seamstress friend Sue. So we have 12 beautiful mats and the stereognostic bags for our friends in Nigeria. We hope you like them. So this is my geometric cabinet. Mine contains 5 different trays with 4 shapes in each. You can buy a larger set which has 6 trays and between 4 and 6 end sets in each. But what are these for? So these will increase visual discrimination. We're further going to understand our geometric figures. They're going to, like the others, prepare the child for reading and writing, noticing the differences, feeling them, using our muscular control to feel round them, increase our vocabulary as well, and awareness again of even more shapes in the environment. So what do I have in my trays? So my tray 1 is 4 curved sided figures, which is the same as in the larger cabinets as well. So we have here our curvilinear triangle, our ellipse, our oval, and our quatrefoil. My tray 2 then has the quadrilaterals in it, so our 4-sided shapes. I don't have size at tray 3, which would be 6 rectangles of varying size. I don't have that one. And then in tray 4, I have the various triangles. So our equilateral triangle, our obtuse angled isosceles, our acute angled isosceles, and our right angled scalene. So in case anyone doesn't know, equilateral means equal length of size. Obtuse angle, so bigger than 90 degrees, isosceles, 2 sides the same length. Acute angles, these here are less than 90 degrees, and isosceles because these 2 sides are the same length. And our scalene right angle, so let me just move it. This angle here is a right angle, all 3 sides are a different length, so it's scalene. So that for me is my tray 3, my triangles, okay. Tray 4 for me, tray 5 in a large cabinet is circles of various sizes. So there we go, from small to large. And then my final tray is polygons. So I have my 5 sides, my pentagon, 6 hexagon, 7 heptagon, 8 octagon. You can get a bigger tray as well that have nonagon and decagon in them. So exactly the same as using your geometric presentation tray as well. Feeling around the sockets, matching the shapes, one-to-one correspondence, introducing the names of all of the shapes as well. You can do that with a 3-period lesson. And again, once you've worked with a child, they're free to take the geometric cabinet tray, explore it, work with it on their floor mat, do it as puzzles and feeling round, and then replace it when they've finished working over with it as well. So even with this, I've had groups of children come and take a tray each and work with that, and that's absolutely fine. So really quick presentation there, but that's your geometric cabinet, which I find in the classroom is really underused as well. So do make sure that children realise what is in here, because it's really easy to just walk past this and not notice the beautiful, beautiful shapes that are within. So that's your geometric cabinet. Then an extension of this working with later is you would have the cards that the shapes match to as well. So you would have a solid picture, you would have a wide outline and then a narrow outline for the children to take these shapes and match them to the cards. So that would be your geometric cabinet with your cabinet cards as well. So this is then activities to refine the kinesthetic sense. And the first thing we have here is the presentation tray, usually, of the 2D shapes. Now, I didn't buy the presentation tray because I have a small classroom, and so I chose to do this work with my insets for design. So exactly the same layout here. I have the socket or the frame and the shapes. So here we go. You can see I have my square, my circle and my triangle. I've placed them out on the mat. I've invited a child to come and work. So I've carried these in my trays and set them out. And now I'm going to show the child how to carefully pick this out here. So now we have the 2 squares, the 2 circles, the 2 triangles. Then I'm going to feel the shape of the socket. I'm going to pick up my square and I am going to feel around the edges, and I'm going to replace it into the correct socket. Then I'm going to invite my child to do the next one. And finally, the third one. So this purpose of this then, the objective is to enhance the child's experience of the shapes circle, square and triangle. But we'll also repeat this when we add in the other shapes. So if you're using the insets like me, we have 10 shapes in total. So we're going to increase the child's vocabulary because we're going to learn the names of the shapes. And it's also indirect for reading and writing because we're learning to do lovely flowing movements with our hands. So ready for when we have a pencil in as well. So we're developing an awareness as well of shapes in the environment. We're highlighting these shapes, we're learning about them, and we're now going to notice them when we're out and about as well. If you think about it, we can pass through things in our life and not take any notice. And the moment someone sparks an interest in our brain, we then can notice those things everywhere. So it's the same with shapes in the environment. So your control of error is quite clear here because each shape will only fit in its own socket. It's a really early activity after the geometric solids, individual presentation with you and the child, using your dominant hand to feel the socket, to feel the shape, and then to match them as well. So, like I say, once you have done it with these three, if you're working with a younger child, you may choose just to have two shapes out. The square and the circle have a really big difference between them. You can then change the shapes that you bring over. So if you have the presentation tray, fantastic. Add the shapes as the child needs to learn new ones, and that's how you present your 2D shapes to the child. So lots of repetition of this activity, matching the shapes to the sockets, learning the names of them as well. So oval, trapezium, whichever shapes you're introducing. And then you can even do an extension on this and look for these shapes in the environment within the classroom, outside in the garden, or ask them if they can think of things that they have at home that are these shapes too. So that is then your first activity, the presentation cabinet. So after the geometric cabinet, we would move on to the constructive triangles. So there's usually 5 boxes of these that you'd have placed out on the same shelf. Box 1 is this one, so a triangular box, and I'll show you in a moment what the contents are. Box 2 is a small hexagonal box. Box 3 is a large hexagonal box. Box 4 is a rectangular box that contains triangles in a variety of colours, and box 5 is a rectangular box, but everything inside that is blue. Okay, and it has a variety of triangles that are put together to make quadrilaterals. So that's the 5 boxes. This is box 1 then. So with these, they all give the child the opportunity to try out various geometric shapes and to discover how they can put triangles together to make other shapes, but also how they can divide up the triangles too. So indirect preparation for later geometry work as well. Really good visual and muscular impression here and experience of using shapes. Also, we will introduce appropriate words and the names of the triangles, so really lovely for increasing their vocabulary too. So if you were doing a project about shapes, for example, you could have syllable clapping as a language activity to practice the long names of some of the shapes, such as equilateral. Okay, so really great to bring your language work into this as well. So if we take the lid off this box, let me just pop it out of the way. The shape of the box here, the shape of the lid indicates what's inside the box. So we have our triangles in here. So the first one here is our grey triangle. These can be a little bit tricky to get out. They don't give you quite enough space to get your finger down the edge of the triangle. So the presentation of our box 1 here, we're going to take out our first grey triangle, one whole equilateral triangle that fills the box. And then next underneath this, if your box is on the shelf in order, we have the 2 green triangles. So these are scalene, all 3 sides of a different length, okay, with a right angle here in the corner and a black line on each, because it's the black line that's going to give us the clue how to join the shapes together. So we're going to show that this black line is important on our 2 shapes. I don't want to block your view. There we go. And we're going to slide down the black line. And then we have made our equilateral triangle. So the same shape as our grey one. There we go. Move them up so you can see them on the camera. So once we've done this, we can then show them our other triangles, and we can make our equilateral triangle with those as well. So we can bring out our yellow triangles. So these are an obtuse angle bigger than 90 degrees. 2 sides the same length, so they're isosceles. black lines showing, all exactly the same. I'm showing you this as well so you can check what's in your boxes in your classroom, just in case they're wrong, because this is one of those things that I find gets really muddled over the years. So the same skill here of sliding our black lines together to make our third equilateral triangle. Okay, so when your child's had an opportunity to work with that one, next we can try our red pieces. So all small equilateral triangles now. One of them has 3 black lines, then 3 of them have 1 black line. So we'll take out all of those from our box. And your child, if they've now understood the purpose of the black line, could actually discover this one for themselves. There, and now they've achieved building the large equilateral triangle out of the 4 smaller ones. So they can explore this as much as they want, work with it quite often, and then we can work in the future, move on to boxes 2, 3 and 4, where they can explore as well of how they make the shapes and create those together, and to see what other shapes they can make. So just to give you an idea, even with this simple set, we could, for example, take our equilateral triangle here made out of our red triangles, and I could explore what happens if I place the yellow triangles around them. And because I've learnt about the properties of shapes with the geometric cabinet, I may well recognise that I have made a hexagon, because this now has 6 sides. So really lovely exploration here of geometry. I really love this material. It's really great when they, you know, can investigate all of the different boxes and combine them, and, you know, the sense of wonder when they're like, wow, I've created, and they've come up with a shape from something they've built. So really lovely imagination, creative way, exploring, you know, coming up with ideas for themselves about what they can do together. So another thing that I do with these that isn't in my training records actually, is I use these as well for symmetry. So you may have seen, there's an old video of mine online for creating symmetrical patterns with this. So what I would do, or the video I've shown, I have a large mat such as this one, with a string down the middle of it, and I take the triangles and I place them out. I'll imagine this is my line here, to see if I can create a pattern that is the same both sides, a pattern that is symmetrical. And I'm really strict with it as well, because I also like the black line to match. So for example, it's not symmetrical if I put the black line on one side or the shape the wrong way round. So it's really lovely to look and see which of these shapes I can use to create symmetry and how I need to place them. There we go. So that's a lovely extension there with these materials on symmetry. So after the constructive triangles comes tessellations. So for this you would have a basket of hopefully small wooden shapes, a different colour for each shape, and the children can explore how they can make different shapes and different patterns out of those wooden shapes. So that would be tessellations. Then after tessellations, we'd actually move to fractions. So looking at different fraction equipment. So you can buy fraction skittles. I have these simple fraction puzzles. So to start with, using them sensorially, exploring which pieces go together, and then later introducing the names of them. So these obviously are circular fractions. Then my preferred work for fractions, I like linear fractions. So I've shown this before. My dad made this board for me. So I have the 1 whole one, the 2 halves, which we can see as equivalent. I also have quarters in my board, and I have thirds. And then if I want to take one of them out, I also have space and I can replace it with fifths as well. So this is a really lovely homemade piece, which you could make in firm board, cardboard as well. So a really lovely fraction, a linear fraction board. But the next piece I'm actually going to show to you, and it's going to be the last piece in sensorial that I present, is the binomial cube and trinomial cube. So this is a presentation of the binomial cube. I use a layout for my cube, so I'm going to show you how I would open my cube to present my layout. And I work in rows and columns. So there's 2 layers to this cube. So I'm going to have 2 rows. Rows go across like the rows of seats in a cinema. And each different shape of brick has its own column. So let's start and show you. So take the bricks out, I don't twist them. I keep them at exactly the same angle as they are in the box. These are in the same column because they are the same shape piece. So I've taken out the top layer and they are in their own row. There we go. And each brick has its own column. Now I'm going to take out the second row. Okay, so now I'm just going to turn this slightly so you can see. We have rows and columns. So to rebuild the binomial cube, I start with the piece that was last to come out. So I take this piece to place it into the back corner of the box. Now you notice now I don't have to twist these pieces. I can just put them up and place them in. This is the last piece in this row. And that completes that layer of the cube. Now I'll come back over here to start. And again, I don't need to twist the pieces. I just lift them and place them in exactly. You can see here now I need the blue cube, which is the last piece on my mat. So a really lovely mathematical layout of the binomial cube using rows and columns. So that's how I like to lay it out. I do know that other people sometimes use the lid as a guide as well because the pattern is on the lid. So if you prefer to use that method, that's absolutely fine. So that was the binomial cube.